Hey, how's it going, everybody? So first, thanks for tuning in to the first video of the Grad School Cook. This is my new cooking channel here on YouTube, and I'm going to be doing a lot of fun food demonstrations, going into some nutrition science and kind of nerding out a little bit on the science of food and what's going on, teaching you some cool culinary techniques along the way that you can all do from home. It's pretty cool. My apartment complex here, One East Pleasant, they actually reached out to me and wanted to partner with me, which I thought was really cool, to do a video for the tenants here in the apartment complex and within the Amherst community, through the other buildings that they function with. And so this is kind of like a partnership initial launch that we're going to be doing on this first one, and then maybe depending on the reception of the videos for the tenants here, maybe look to do several that are exclusive to the folks here down the road. So yeah, we just thought we would reach out and share something with you guys. And then of course this is going to be on my YouTube channel, so it'll be open for everybody to watch as well. But what we're going to be doing today is I thought it would be fun to go into a couple of cool little techniques that not a lot of people at home realize that are super simple and easy to do. And so what I thought would be fun would be to do a from scratch homemade Bolognese sauce. It's just a red sauce for pasta, and then show you how to do a really quick, easy 2-ingredient plus a little bit of water pasta dough that takes 10 minutes to put together, maybe 5 minutes to put together, and then has to rest in the fridge for about half an hour, 45 minutes. And then you chop it up and cut it into whatever strips you want, shapes, sizes. Pasta is kind of, able to be whatever you want it to be. So we're gonna do some cool noodles today. You could do stuff like ravioli or lasagna, things like that. But we're just gonna do regular pasta bolognese. To start with, the first thing that we're going to do is I'm actually going to show you how to grind your own meat. What I've got here, as you can see, I've just got the KitchenAid stand mixer, and then I've got the metal meat grinding attachment, and we're going to be doing some short ribs in the grinder. I've already done half of them, and they're already simmering in the sauce so that I have something to show you guys at the end for a final product. But I'm going to show you how easy it is to take good cuts of meat and grind them down yourself so that you have locally sourced and quality, no fillers, no additives, no nothing. It's just whatever you put in and the meat, and that's it. So just kind of giving you a little bit of insight as to how easy it is to take something like ground beef and, you go and you buy it at the store, and unfortunately there's a lot of, fillers and, other stuff that kind of gets put in there to kind of offset, to keep the prices down. But unfortunately those things, when we ingest them, are not healthy for us. So taking, things like short ribs or stew meat, London broil, things like that, and cutting it down into small cubes and then grinding it yourself, you have nothing but meat in there, and it's delicious and, nutritious and packed full of protein and flavor and everything else. And if you partner with, a local butcher, or, in my case, I get my meat from Chase Hill Farms here in Amherst at the farmer's market every weekend. So I'm very fortunate and lucky in that regards. But, wherever you're at, there's got to be a quality butcher in the area that you can go get various cuts of meat from, grind them down. There you go. In our sauce, we've also got veal and Italian sausage. But again, these are all things that, you can get cuts of, pork butt or, various, areas of the pig. You can get veal, you can get, whatever animal you want to make into, chicken, turkey, whatever you want to grind down, absolutely, by all means. But again, I'm going to show you guys real quick how to grind down short ribs. I've already deboned them. I've got them chilling in the freezer, because what you want to do is put them in the freezer for about 15 minutes or so. Once you've cut it and deboned it and cut it into your little cubes, put it in the freezer. That helps it firm up a little bit so that when you're throwing it through the grinder, it doesn't just get mushed up, and it actually stays as like a coarse ground meat. And you can throw in things like, parsley or, oregano or various, garlic chunks or, whatever you want to do. And again, I've already got some in the stew pot that's already, braising down or simmering down. So I'm just going to do a straight grind on this just to show you how easy it is. And just for the sake of time, I've already done all the prep work for the sauce itself. I'm just going to kind of go through step by step on how to do everything and then set it aside and move on to the next step. And that's just for the ease of time. I don't, you know, a good Bolognese needs to simmer for about 3 hours, and I don't want to take 3 hours of your time. And, you know, I don't think you want to sit here and listen to me talk for 3 hours. So I've done a lot of the prep work ahead of time. Through the magic of TV, we'll get to a certain point and then I'll substitute in something that's already done to that point. And again, that's just to kind of speed things up a little bit and make things move efficiently so that you're not spending all afternoon watching this silly video. So I'm gonna go get the cuts of meat, and then we'll throw down and do some grinding and do some cooking. All right, so yeah, again, like I said, I just threw it in the freezer and just let it chill for a little while, and had already cubed it down. These are just short ribs. And all you're gonna do is get it up into the meat tray. And obviously I'm using gloves just for the sake of, you know, cross-contamination and whatnot. I always highly recommend if you're cooking with any kind of meat, just throw some gloves on, you know, go buy a box. If you're gonna do a lot of cooking, just go buy a box of the industrial gloves and call it a day. And I'm just gonna load up the tray here. Get it nice. Right. All right, throw these into my trash bowl, and I'll show you the trash bowl here in a second once we get to that piece, but you just move you around here. And so, as you can see, it's all up in the meat or in the compartment, the tray, and all you're gonna do is have a nice big Pyrex bowl directly underneath to catch the grind, and you're just gonna start grinding. Just get it down in there, and eventually it'll catch. There it goes. Look at that. Fresh ground short ribs. And on the grinding machine, I've got it at speed 4, just as an FYI. This is a little over a pound of meat. And we're almost done. There we go. And just let that work through. Awesome. All right, so look at that. It took maybe a minute to grind an entire pound of meat. And now I have a nice, beautiful, coarse ground short rib. And you can take this, turn it into, because it's got, you know, a good fatty content to it. You can take and, you know, make burger patties out of it, or, you know, throw it into a stew, or make veggie soup out of it, you know, like whatever you want to do. Now you have really high-end quality cuts of meat, you know exactly what's in here. And, you know, obviously the content of it is delicious and, you know, unctuous and, you know, beautifully sourced and perfect. So, you know, don't spend the money buying, you know, just prepackaged ground chuck. Spend a couple of extra dollars and get some, you know, super quality short rib, you know, burgers. And, you know, in the case of tonight, we're gonna have a nice short rib, veal, and Italian sausage bolognese, and boom, there it is. So stand by for a second. I'm gonna set this aside. We're gonna swap out and turn into the vegetable section. And yeah, so just hang out. And unfortunately, I can't pause the videos because of technology. I'm using my iPhone and it doesn't let me pause. So just bear with me on this first video because technology is not my friend on this. But just like that, the stand mixer is back to its original configuration. And my grinder is in the sink ready to be washed as soon as I'm done with this video, but stand by. All right, we're switching over to veggies, so just gonna give it a little once over because we had meat on the counter there. So we'll just give it a quick rinse down again. Don't want to cross-contaminate. Right. So normally what you would do now is, now that you have the ground meat, you would have your short ribs and you'd have your veal and your Italian sausage. And at this point you would start to saute that up in a frying pan or, you know, skillet, and flavor it salt, pepper, maybe add some garlic powder, red pepper flake if you like a little bit of heat, you know, whatever kind of suits your fancy and how you like to season, but that's the point you would do that with the meat, and just kind of saute all of that up and then just set it aside. And then the next step is going to be some veg prep, and then we'll build the sauce from there, and I'll show you to where it's at right now. Obviously it's been simmering for a while, so it's going to look a little bit different than when you first construct it, but kind of give you the idea. So real quick, let me grab my cutting board. And put one of these guys down underneath your cutting board. It's just a little skid resistant. That way when you're chopping, if you hit the board and move it out of the way, it's not going to go flying and you're not going to cut your finger. All right. Got my carrots, got my celery, get my onions and my garlic. All right, so all right, and this was the trash bowl I was talking about. This is just a big plastic Tupperware bowl. I like to keep that right next to wherever I'm working. That way, you know, as debris starts to build up, you know, skins of the vegetables and peels and extra chunks that you're not going to be using and whatnot, just chunk them in there. That way you have a nice clean workstation, because the cleaner your workstation, number one, again, cross-contamination is a big issue. But number two, it makes cleanup on the back end a lot easier. And number three, it's just a neater environment, and that keeps my stress levels down. So when I'm cooking, I like to kind of clean as I go. I'm not going to be cleaning as much right now because obviously I'm doing this demo video, so I don't have the capacity to stop and clean the meat grinder and things like that, but I'll do that as soon as we're done. But yeah, I typically just kind of clean as I go, keep my workstation clean, and yeah, it just kind of keeps my nerves calm, and it, you know, eliminates cross-contamination and all of that good stuff. Now, as far as veg goes, first thing that you always want to do if you're cooking with any of the allium family, and that's going to be your shallots, your leeks, your garlic, and your onions, or your green onions. Any of those are in the allium family. And we all know, you know, obviously garlic keeps away the vampires, and, you know, that's never a bad thing unless you like vampires. I don't know. Do you, whatever works for you. But me personally, I want to keep them away. That being said, this particular family of veggies are super, super, super healthy. And everybody kind of knows that, you know, garlic's healthy for, you know, the cold and, you know, like helping you feel better and, you know, whatever. Onions too, a little bit less known, but they're in the same family, so they have that same compound. And what it is, it's actually a compound called allicin. And to get that compound to actually get to its full capacity of function within the vegetable, the onion, the garlic, whatever, you need to give it a little bit of time. So I always say, if you're going to be cooking with these two, no matter what other veg you're going to be working with, start with these guys, because you need to give it about 10 minutes to have full capacity of the enzymatic reaction that's going to create the allicin by using the allicinase, and it's another compound that I'm drawing a blank on. I can't remember the name of it, but it combines with that enzyme and creates that compound called allicin, ALICIN. And once you ingest that, that's the compound that then has like anti-cancer properties, antifungal properties, antimicrobial properties, anti-inflammatory properties. So there's a whole host of things that compound can do in your body. So you're upping the health content. It does nothing to change the flavor. It does nothing to change anything other than the fact that now it's healthier. So yeah, again, you you need to start by chopping these guys up, because the chopping is what does the damage to it, which creates the enzymatic reaction to happen, because is what it is. It's actually a protective mechanism by the vegetable to repair itself if it gets damaged. In the case of our situation, we're chopping it up to throw it into a sauce, but out in the wild, it's, you know, a defense mechanism for repair if it gets, you know, nicked by, you know, a bird that claws at it, or you know, whatever happens in nature. Plants are wild, who knows what they're doing. So if the garlic or onions get, you know, injured, quote unquote, this enzymatic reaction happens, and the allicin is what does the repair within that particular veggie. And in the case of us, when we ingest it, we actually maintain that compound in its bioactive form, processed through metabolism, gets in the bloodstream, and then it goes off and does all kinds of fun little things. So we're gonna do some chop on these guys. And sorry. Again, I've already got the Bolognese going, so I'm just gonna do bare minimum just to show you some cool techniques. But I've already done all this preemptively, so I'm not gonna go through the whole process of doing the whole onion and the whole garlic and everything like that. So what I'm going to do, I'm gonna try to adjust the angle on this so that we can see what we're doing. There we go. All right. Tighten that up so it doesn't fall, because I don't want to lose my phone. All right, so got your garlic, and it's still got the skin on. You obviously you want to take that off. So what I like to do is just put it down, take the flat end of your blade right on top, just give it a smash. Boom. Paper comes right off. Look at that, one big giant chunk. And now the enzymatic reaction is already happening in the garlic because it's all damaged up. And we're gonna actually be throwing it into the food processor to create almost like a paste out of all of this veg that we've got here. So I just give it a little zhuzh just to kind of throw the knife through there and just create a few more cases of potential enzymatic reaction. So I'm just gonna scooch that out of the way. Do the same thing with the onions. Let the knife do the work. Boom. Throw that in your work bowl. Cut off the back end. Tear that down. Now you got a nice open strip that you can work with to tear this skin off. These things are sticky and a mess. And again, we're just looking for a rough chop on these because we're going to be going straight into the food processor. Then we're going to let the food processor do the bulk of the work. So now we got a nice flat surface. Cut down the middle. And notice I'm holding the knife. You know, you're not out here with no control. You want to have up against the hilt and have nice control. And just knuckles in. Let the knife do the work. And we'll call that good. Same thing with this guy, knuckles in. Awesome. And if you want, you can just give it one of these numbers, but I'm just gonna call it good because again, we're just going into the food processor with it. And that's off of that guy. We're gonna take our carrots, and you can clean them really well, or you can just peel out the outer layer. I just prefer to peel the outer layer. And I'm going with rainbow carrots. Really kind of preference. You're getting a few more phytochemicals because of the carotenoids and various compounds that give it the purple hue. In this case, you know, we've got the carotenoids that give it a yellow hue. And I've also got orange carrots in there as well. Fun fact about beta carotene, which everybody knows carrots are full of. Come back up here real quick. Oops. Wrong way. Sorry. Yeah, so fun fact about beta carotene, which everybody knows is vitamin A, or knows as vitamin A. In reality, it's actually not vitamin A. It's a precursor to vitamin A, which is actually retinol, which is the true vitamin A compound. Within all the veggies that contain beta carotene, which again is a precursor to vitamin A. For all of my plant-based folks, veggie lovers, vegetarians, vegans, plant-based, whatever, just be mindful. You're definitely getting a good source of beta carotene from a lot of these veggies, but just know that it takes 12 molecules of beta carotene to equal 1 molecule of retinol, of vitamin A, of true vitamin A. And so, it'll tell you, you're getting a good healthy dose of beta carotene in whatever it is that you're eating, but just know that the bioconversion within the body is not super efficient. It's not bad. It's, I definitely, you can get your vitamin A needs met as a plant-based person or a vegetarian, whatever. But just know that you got to be a little bit mindful with that. And a lot of people don't realize that beta carotene is actually not vitamin A, that is actually a precursor to vitamin A that then gets converted in the body, again, through enzymatic reactions, into actual retinol vitamin A. So, just keep that in the back of your mind if you are plant-based, that you gotta consume a pretty fair amount of your beta carotene to get the amount of vitamin A that you actually need. And I'll do more videos that kind of go deeper into the science of all of that if people want. But for this, I'm just kind of giving you a little bit of high-level stuff. But again, shave down the top layer, give it a rough chop. Same thing with the celery. You don't need to shave anything off of that. You just give it a nice rough chop. And then just throw it into the work bowl of your food processor and pulse it a couple of times and then turn it on low and just let it spin for a good minute or so. And then stop, wipe down the edges of the bowl. That way everything gets, remixed in there. Turn it back on for about another 30 seconds and you'll have a nice veggie paste out of it. I'm not gonna do that with this because this thing is annoyingly loud, and you guys won't hear anything other than this thing, and it's obnoxiously loud. So just do a rough chop on your veg, throw it in this beast, whatever food processor you have, and buzz it a couple of times, get everything worked in, push the edge of the sides of the bowl down, and then throw it on to low for about a minute. Pad the sides down again, go for another 30 seconds, and you got your paste. And then that goes straight into your sauce, to your saucepan, or your Dutch oven, or whatever you're using for the actual sauce. I'm using my Dutch oven. So let's clean up the veg mess. And the cool thing is I'm basically building a Bolognese twice, and so I'm gonna have enough Bolognese to last me probably through the winter, because this thing is pretty full and I've got enough veg chopped up here, and then with the short ribs that I just ground and the other meats that I've got, I'm gonna have tons of leftovers. So pretty excited about that. Let me just move this out of the way real quick. All right, and let me get some paper towels. I'm just gonna give this a wipe down, get the veggies off. Right. Now we're gonna get into the fun part, and that is making pasta. It is super easy. It's like ridiculously easy, and it's super inexpensive, and it takes literally 2 ingredients and a couple of tablespoons of water, and that's it. So let me get my 2 ingredients. Shoot. I don't think I have enough in there, so I'm gonna open up a new guy. So we just need 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. I'm gonna cash this guy out and then see how much I have left, and I might end up opening up another bag, I'm not sure. Let's see. Might have enough in there. Got my 1 cup, half cup. And we're just gonna eyeball it. Doesn't have to be exact. got about a cup there. I'm just gonna pour it out onto your cutting board. Set that guy aside. I might have just enough. And I'm gonna get you guys angled down here in just a second. I just want to get the flour out on the board first. Just enough, perfect. Awesome. I love when things work out like that. I had literally just enough. All right, put that guy up. Now, let me get you guys resituated so you can actually see what is happening. All right, there we go. Maybe a little bit more. There we go. We're gonna call that good. All right, I'll just scooch up this way just a little bit. Perfect. All right, hopefully you guys can still hear me. So I got my flour here. I'm gonna glove up again because this gets messy really quick. But really what you gotta do is get your flour, get a couple of eggs. Literally, that's it. That's the ingredients. That's all you need. And then we're gonna knead that together. And then as it comes together, it's gonna kind of form a kind of a shaggy dough where it's, you know, kind of looking kind of rough and kind of separating and kind of clumpy and, you know, whatever. Get my second egg. I'm gonna throw these in the cool box real quick. Right. This bad boy, this pot here is actually the water. I'm just trying to bring it up to a boil by the time we get done with all of this. Hopefully this is gonna be at a boil and we can throw the noodles in that are already in there. And here's the sauce, and I'll show you that here in a little bit. Right. So, all right. Take your flour and just create a little well in the middle. Pretty good size well, because you're gonna be throwing 2 eggs into it. And it just makes your life a lot easier. Shoot. Garbage disposal. Shoot. And doing this up on the cutting board because it's got the crevasses here to catch all this liquid as the whites kind of run. That way, because you're gonna need all of that liquid because we got a cup and a half of flour and all we have is 2 tiny little eggs to do all of our mixing. So I like to start with the yolks and then you just start, of course. Of course that happens. All right, let me, it figures. I did this earlier, no issues at all. And of course now when I'm live, an egg goes rogue. That's the fun of cooking. And now, like literally all down here, I have an entire egg just chilling on my dishwasher. All right. All right. Now this is a sloppy process, so just bear with me here. I'm just gonna bring all of this liquid back. And you're just gonna start folding it together. Again, you're gonna make a really shaggy dough out of this. And it's gonna look like you don't have enough liquid in here, but trust me, it will come together in due time. It's just a matter of working it, being patient, and owning the fact that sometimes you might drop an egg onto the ground below you. So, get that to the middle. And this is why I was gloved up, because your hands get gnarly as all get out. That's the one drawback to it. But it's kind of fun playing with your food, you know. You grew up being told don't play with your food, and now I'm throwing all that out the window and saying, by all means, play with your food. All right, see, it's slowly starting to come together. You're gonna end up with a bunch of flour on the board and on your hands, and that's okay. That's why you have a cup and a half, to kind of allow it all to kind of come together. And awesome. See how it's kind of flaky, kind of crumbly a little bit? That's what I was talking about with having a shaggy dough. And it'll continue staying a little bit shaggy until it gets to a point where it's somewhat come together, and then you start adding just a touch of water. You don't want to add a lot of water. You want to kind of let the eggs do the moisturizing. I'm sorry, this is definitely not the prettiest, but it's coming together nicely. All right, yeah, we're definitely not going to need a lot of water on this one. And you could need anywhere from 1 to about 3 tablespoons. I'm trying to get the dough claw off my hand. Look at that. Look at that. I know my hands look ridiculous, but we got ourselves a ball of dough. Isn't it beautiful? Start building up the gluten structure and the proteins in the dough. All right. So let me wash my hands a little bit so that I can function. And it'll take about 30, 45 seconds to let everything kind of rinse off your hands. That stuff is on there pretty good. Make sure you use soap because you were working with raw eggs. Don't want salmonella. Right. Dry my hands off. Then I'm going to clean up the egg real quick, just so I don't have cross-contamination myself. And I'll go over that with some actual cleaner after the fact. Just get the bulk of it off the counter. Right, let me get a different rag. Gotta love live TV or live recordings. Can't pause. When you mess up, you just gotta roll with it. And that's okay. Just an egg. All right, got my egg up off the earth. And all right, so we would add about a tablespoon. This is a pretty good dough that we've already got established here, so I wouldn't add more than 1 tablespoon and just continue kneading it up. And then once you get it to a nice firm consistency, where did my, oh, there it is. Just gonna get some saran wrap, cling wrap, whatever. And maybe, shoot. There you are. Tear you off a nice healthy piece. Shoot. And take your dough ball. Again, I would not add more than 1 to 2 tablespoons. Put it in nice and tight. Wrap it up, take it, toss it in the cold box. And voila, this is the one that was sitting in there from earlier. So I'm gonna move this guy out of the way. And Sorry, it was just a little wet down there. I didn't want to slip. All right, get a different cutting board. Right, and you're gonna need this bad boy. And this is just a rolling pin. And clean up the last of that egg. Right. And again, if I was actually eating right now with any of this, I would be going over it with disinfectant because we had raw egg on the counter, but I'm not gonna worry about it for time. So just take this, get a dough cutter or a bowl scraper, whatever, bench cutter, whatever, but bench scraper. And give it a nice cut down the middle and a nice cut down the middle. And we're just going to start with one piece at a time. Take just a little bit of flour, and this is just to kind of help it from sticking. We're just going to start rolling it out. And make sure you don't do like I just did and don't flour both sides, otherwise your roller will stick to it. And right, and turn it. What you're looking for is about maybe an 1/8 of an inch. And if you have too big of a piece with what you've got, you can always take this and cut it one more time. Give yourself a little bit more room to work. And just roll it out. Take out the stress and anger from work or school or whatever. Oops. Try not to roll it up on itself, or you're just making more work for yourself. You can see as you start rolling it out that it has a lot of flexibility. Those gluten strands that were forming while it was sitting in the cool box over the last, I had mine in there for about 2 hours. Those gluten strands were really tightening up, so it's giving it a lot of stretch, which gives us a lot of flexibility to roll it out nice and thin and not worry about it tearing. And this will take a little bit of time. Awesome. Coming together slowly. And if you notice it's sticking to the board, feel free to throw some more flour down on the bench for you. I'm going to crank this bad boy up because we're getting close to pasta time. Just kind of rub it around. And ideally, you want to make uniform structures with your dough balls. I started it with a triangle, and so I'm ending up with a triangle, unfortunately, but we can just cut it down and turn it into a square. And with this, once you get it to the desired thickness, you could take biscuit cutters, and you can cut out shapes. You can make ravioli with those. You can cut them into nice even squares and make lasagna sheets with it. But again, we're gonna roll it nice and thin, and then I'm gonna show you how to just cut it into just nice regular strands, fettuccine, tagliatelle, whatever, however you wanna call it. We're getting there. Right, do one more on this end that's being stubborn. So as you can see, it's got a nice stretch to it. Or I guess I was holding it up here, sorry. As you can see, it's got a nice stretch to it, but it doesn't give. But it's super paper thin. You can go a little bit thinner if you really wanted to, but for the sake of time, I'm gonna call it good. And then all you're gonna do is roll it up into a little cigar. And see where my pizza cutter is. Aha! Take your little pizza cutter. You know, however thick you want to make them. You're just gonna zoop and back down. And again, we're going for the rustic home look, so they're not going to be uniform. Don't really care about uniformity with this, but all I want are noodles that I can throw into the water and top with a beautiful Bolognese that we've been simmering for the last couple of hours. The cool thing about homemade pasta is it literally takes a minute at most once it's in the water. And again, they're not coming out perfect, but that's the beauty of it, is it's homemade, it's rustic, it's got charm, it's got character. Doesn't have to look store-bought. In fact, it's not gonna look store-bought. All right, once you get to the end, you'll have some random shapes that are little chunks, not really worth making into a full noodle. See, I'm starting to salivate. I'm actually starving, so I'm excited to eat this. All right, call that guy good. Throw that to the side, and then just take your next piece. Just set those off to the side. Take your next piece, start rolling. I'm only gonna do these two, and then I should have enough to make a plate, and yeah, I'll show you how to do it, and then I'll do the rest of the pasta later. But see how easy this is? I mean, the hardest part is literally the rolling of the dough, and even that is kind of cathartic in the sense that you can just kind of take out all your anger and frustration and annoyances with other humans that, how dare they bother you. Right, start rolling this way. You know, you throw a little elbow grease into it and kind of lean into it a little bit. Get it done a little bit quicker. By giving it that long rest in the fridge, built up a really strong gluten network. So it's got a lot of pliability. So it's got a lot of stretch. It's not ripping. That's the magic of gluten. And obviously if you have celiacs and you're gluten-free, I empathize with that, because pasta, for me, is one of the greatest creations on earth. And especially when you make homemade pasta, you can just taste how good it is. That water is almost coming to a boil. And you're just rolling it out. Nice and thin. All right. So I'm gonna call that good. Again, still got a good amount of pliability to it, but you can almost see through it. And then you just roll it up. Don't roll it too tight, because that's gonna make it stick together. Just kind of a nice loose cigar. And then again, pizza cutter. zoop, 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 up and down, back and forth. You're gonna have some fat ones, some not so fat ones. And then you just unravel. And again, definitely doesn't look store-bought. It's got, as I like to call, character and charm. Right. Got just a couple more to unroll. The water is almost to a boil. And then we are on the home stretch. Then we get to eat soon. I'm excited because I am starving. Now, as far as these videos, obviously, this is my first one. So if you're still tuning in, I appreciate that because I know the first one of most things is rarely ever great. And that's okay. It takes practice to get good at these things, and I have not done a lot of this, so definitely hoping for some good feedback, critique, and comments. So definitely let me know your thoughts. Let me know on the volume as well, because again, first time, and I don't have a microphone hooked up to this, so I'm literally just talking into the microphone on the phone. But let me know what your thoughts are. Give me any critique or feedback. If you do enjoy it, let me know things you'd like to see me cook. I'm kind of open to exploring all types of cuisine. I love getting in the kitchen and just kind of seeing what happens. So definitely suggest things that you may want to see cooked. But yeah, I'm definitely excited to see where this channel goes. It'll get better, I promise. The quality of the videos, the sound, the functionality, the science, the cooking, everything, it'll definitely improve, but it's definitely been a fun one to get us started. So let me unhook this bad boy. And I'm gonna show you the sauce that's been simmering for about, I want to say about 3 hours now. So it's good and melded. Let's see. There we go. All right, there we go. All right. So again, this is just my salted water that I'm trying to bring up to a boil as quick as I can. And that's going to be for the pasta. And grab the pot holder and show you what has been simmering. Look at that. Listen to that boiling deliciousness. I threw in some Italian cherry tomatoes, and you can see all the meat, and you can't even tell that there's carrots, garlic, onions, celery, and I even threw in some mushrooms. I'll show you what all I threw in there, but I'll give you kind of a, hopefully you guys can see that. Can't really tell where the camera's at, but yeah, that's the magic. That was what I was excited about making for you guys. Let me get that out of there real quick. Let that continue to do its thing. But so to build the sauce, the gravy, the good stuff, I'm gonna get the camera back up this way. All right. So first thing I did was obviously the veg, and then browned up all the meat, got that all in there, threw that together, and then I added this guy, just 1 can of crushed San Marzano tomatoes. I added this can of Italian cherry tomatoes, and that was the tomatoes that you saw in there that were still whole. I like a little bit of, varietal texture in my sauces. And then in the veg blend that I also threw into the food processor, I just threw in some baby Bella's shiitake and oyster mushrooms, just to give it a little bit more unctuous, umami flavor in the sauce. And then 1 cup of beef stock, and let that all simmer together. And you can also throw in some white wine at that point as well. I didn't. I omitted the white wine. But then you throw in your seasoning, salt, pepper, any red pepper flake, garlic powder, parsley, any of that stuff, oregano. That's when you would throw all that in there to kind of let that throw in there. Throw in some bay leaves, Let those, you know, do all their stuff, and then, you know, as it goes, add a little bit of sugar as well to kind of offset the bitterness that's going on with all these, you know, bitter flavors of tomatoes and, you know, acidic things like that. The sugar kind of mellows that out a little bit. So you definitely want to make sure you add maybe about a half cup of sugar, not too much, maybe even a quarter cup, just to kind of offset that bitterness a little bit. And then you just let it cover it up and just let the magic happen. You got to give it time. Time is of the essence when you're cooking something like this. It takes a good 2, 3, 4 hours to simmer and fully reduce. I've even let some sauces go for on really low for like 6 hours and just let them just do their thing, and it's magic what happens. This is kind of a little bit of a rushed sauce. I've only been doing it for about 3 hours, 2.5 hours, 3 hours. So it's not going to be as magic as it would be if I let it go for a little bit longer. But again, just for the sake of time, we're just going to call it good. So the water is taking forever to boil. I don't know why I opened the fridge. I was thinking of something, and yeah, I don't remember. But anyways, so we got our noodles, and they're ready to go into the salted water. As you can see, beautiful homemade noodles that took nothing to make. And as soon as this water comes up, we'll throw them in and call it good. Takes about a minute in the water, and as soon as they start to float, you're good to go. And then you just tape them out. Use a spider whisk, one of these bad boys, to take out the noodles. And then you'll just ladle in about a cup, whatever size one of these bad boys, just a standard ladle of the starchy pasta water into the sauce. And that starch that's in there is going to help adhere the sauce to the noodles and kind of marry that together once you put it on the plate. And I'll show you how to plate here as soon as this comes up. We're getting there. Should have put it on high earlier. Right. I'm just going to clear this area out a little bit so that I have room to throw the plate on so that I can show you how to plate, or show you what the final product looks like. I know, I'm sure you know how to put food onto a plate. All right, so yeah, again, just kind of filling time while I wait for this water to come up. Let me know your feedback in the comments. You know, I'm definitely excited to see what you think. I've been wanting to do something like this for a while, but just haven't. And when the apartment complex reached out to me, it was kind of a kick in the butt to get this started. And, you know, I'm definitely going to start doing, you know, maybe at the beginning as I'm kind of building it out, maybe I'll do a video once a month or once every other week. And then as I kind of get, you know, a little bit more comfortable with it and kind of feel things out and see what people are, you know, wanting to do and, you know, all of that stuff, maybe I'll increase the frequency to maybe once a week. But for now, I think I'm going to try to aim for, you know, every couple of weeks. The next video that I'm actually going to do is going to be during Thanksgiving. I'm going to put together a kind of a holiday themed dessert. It's more along the lines of something that you would use maybe for Christmas, not so much Thanksgiving, but it's going to be an eggnog cheesecake, and I'm going to make a bourbon hand-whipped chantilly cream, which is just a fancy word of saying whipped cream, that has bourbon in it, because bourbon pairs really well with eggnog, and I really want to kind of marry those two flavors together and make a nice unctuous dessert, make a cheesecake, have eggnog in it, and then have some whiskey in the whipped cream and call it a day. But the water is I'm gonna call it good. So we're just gonna drop the pasta in. Again, because we're dealing with homemade noodles, they're gonna be a little bit sticky, so I like to just throw them in one or two at a time, make sure they're not sticking together. Takes a little bit longer to do than if you were doing prepackaged pasta you just dump in and let nature take its course, but that's okay. And there we go, almost. And again, once they're in the water, you're going to give it maybe a minute, 2 minutes at the absolute most. And just give them a quick stir just to kind of move everything around. And awesome. Now everything is well on its way. You can see the water is good and starchy. That is a beautiful sign, because starch is where the magic happens. Get a nice plate. Check on these bad boys. And they're definitely going to swell, so they're not going to be as paper thin as when you first roll them out. They take on a lot of water and start to swell up. These flour is definitely a very hydrophilic. It wants water, and so it's going to absorb as much of it as it can. So they're going to thicken up a lot as compared to when you first put them in. But again, that's definitely okay. Right, they're almost done. See, it's so much quicker than when you cook box pasta. Right. I'm just fishing out all the last stragglers. One last. Right. And again, it's kind of hard for you to see it now. I'm gonna lower you down one more time, just so you can see. You're just gonna take your ladle, take one little dollop of that starchy pasta water, and mix that all together. Give it a nice, good stir. Right, sauce is looking good. I wish you guys could smell it. And move that guy out of the way. Now we're just gonna sauce up the noodles. And then I'm just gonna take some fresh parsley. Just throw on a couple of sprigs just to brighten it up and give it some color. Right, set that to the side. And my friends, we have pasta Bolognese. Shoop. Awesome. So again, thanks for tuning in. I know we ran almost an hour, but I very much appreciate you tuning in and checking this out. And hopefully you learned a little bit and had some fun. And again, comment below. Let me know what you want to see cooked, or what you liked, what you didn't like. Yeah, I'm open to hearing everything. So thanks for tuning in.